So back in my 20s, I was really sick. I had chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, couldn't work, moved home with my father and stepmother and slept 12 hours a day. That's kind of what you do when you have chronic fatigue syndrome. And I felt like I had the flu all the time. It was just nasty, like a low-grade fever and swollen glands, and I ached all over and nobody could help me. I ran from doctor to doctor and got nowhere. I was single and didn't have much money, so I couldn't keep doing that. I prayed a lot because I knew there's an answer for this and I'm determined to find it. I know it's out there. And when I started talking with people at health food stores and a few comments about what are you eating, everything was all wrong. I like junk food, fast food. I was a sugaraholic. I hated vegetables. Yikes, right? I heard about juicing, bought my first juicer, went on a 5-day juice fast. I just thought I'm jumping in and going for it. Day 5, my body expelled a tumor the size of a golf ball with blue blood vessels attached that looked like they'd been cut. I call it nature scissors that cut those, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. What are those nature scissors? There are a lot of phytonutrients that cut off what is known as angiogenesis. That's the growth of blood vessels to that tumor. I was so flabbergasted. It was like, wow, I'm really going to be well tomorrow because I got rid of this thing. Look at this thing. I wasn't well the next day. I was on a journey of detox and healing. And when you're on that journey, you're up and you're down. You have good days and you have not good days. And you got to hang in there and keep at it and keep working and keep doing your part. I was so determined though, on my bad days, I thought I'm not giving up. I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to do this. I added in food. I went all vegan for that summer and organic and perfect. I did not let one speck of something that I shouldn't have into my mouth. I wanted to be well so badly. And that's what I tell people. You got to go for it with all the gusto you've got. Because if you want to be well, you've got to create a whole new internal environment in your body. I just hung in there even with bad days when I felt like I was getting worse, not better. One morning I woke up and felt like, wow, somebody gave me a brand new body in the middle of the night. I felt fabulous. Felt like jogging. I hadn't even been able to go for a walk around the block for a while during that journey. I was just too weak and tired. And so I thought, okay, that was the best cure on earth, and returned to Southern California and my friends. When you call something a cure to me was you do this, this, and this, you get well, and then you go on with your life, right? So I was back to, okay, I'm going to go on with my life. I hadn't learned a whole lot, I guess. I started going out with friends, a little pizza here, a little cheeseburger there, and my symptoms started rolling back, and it scared the living daylights out of me. When you aren't well and you taste wellness, you don't ever want to lose it. It's priceless. The light bulb started coming on in my head of, this has got to be a way of life. This can't be just you did this for a while and then you ditch that mostly and you go back to bad stuff. This has got to be a way of life. And that was a journey in itself. And I always tell people, hang in there. You make a mistake, don't just bag the whole thing and say, I just really blew it. You get back in the race, you get back on your feet, you try again the next day, and you keep going for it until you've conquered this thing. Because addictions are hard to conquer. Sugar addictions to salt, fat, junk food, chemicals, I don't know. We get addicted to a lot of stuff today. So I learned the hard way by trial and error. This had to be my lifestyle, my journey until I died. And people go, oh no, I can't go out for pizza. But your whole life does change. But here's what you can have: vibrant health. You can feel good. You can feel happy. You can feel well. No bite of anything is ever worth giving that up, right? I say to people all the time, nothing tastes as good as good health. That has been my motto ever since. God answered my prayer, and he answered in a way, a lot of times when we pray, we just want God to do it all for me. I want to pray, I want to believe, and I want to wake up well tomorrow, and it's all gone. That does happen for people. But what I've discovered more than anything with the people I've worked with, it happens when they do their part, when they do their work, when they make the right choices, because God wants us to learn. What did we do wrong in the first place that got us in this mess, right? Why did we get sick? He doesn't want us to go back to our old ways of why we got sick in the first place. He wants us to do what keeps us well. I went back and got my Master's of Science in Whole Foods Nutrition at Bastyr University, and I made my Master's thesis Nutrition and Cancer. So I started learning a lot, and I've been learning ever since, and I think we're ever learning. And fortunately, there are still a few studies out there. Mostly all the studies are on drugs, but there are a few on nutrition and food. Every once in a while, we do learn something new, but I found 8 phytonutrients. 2 of them, apigenin and luteolin, specifically have been shown in scientific studies to cut off the growth of that blood vessel or those blood vessels to that tumor. Well, when you cut off its gravy train, I should call it, it begins to starve. So that's what I saw right before my eyes in a 5-day juice fast. That blood supply obviously had been cut off. Not everyone experiences that has a tumor. I did, and I am so thankful. So we all experience healing in different ways. But many of those other phytonutrients also have cancer-fighting properties. And so where are they rich? Celery juice, richest in celery leaves of all things. The whole thing has got these phytonutrients, but the leaves are the richest. Juice them all up. But that's why I love juicing. I don't know anybody who says, I've been chewing on celery leaves. We're lucky to eat a little piece of celery. When I took my first undergrad class in nutrition, they said, there isn't a whole lot of nutrient in celery. It's mostly water. What a joke. That was the old non-wisdom, right? But we started off thinking, celery, it's a weight loss vegetable. What it was known as, the weight loss vegetable. We've learned so much since then about little, simple, humble celery and its leaves. And yes, things like parsley. Oh my goodness, parsley is one of those nearly perfect foods up there with kale and watercress, just loaded with phytonutrients and all of the vitamins and minerals. Not too many people ever say, I've been chewing on parsley, but we can juice it up. We can start getting those nutrients. That's why I love juicing. You can pour in there so many things that you probably wouldn't eat. I mean, you might eat it once a month, maybe. I was chopping up parsley for Christmas supper. I made dinner here, and I was going to sprinkle it all over. And I thought, wow, this is the only time in quite a while, besides juicing it, that I've used parsley on anything. And that's what it is, a garnish, a decorative thing usually on our plate. Maybe it sits to the side. I put some little sprigs of parsley at the end of either plate for Christmas supper. Nobody ate it. I saved it and juiced it. But I thought about, wow, as I was washing it off, preparing, putting it in storage, I thought I used to throw this away all the time. After a family dinner, we would toss the parsley. Now we save it, we juice all those things that we save and juice that we used to toss that are so incredible for us. I've got more of a list here. When celery first came on the scene, people were saying, is this just like a stupid fad? It's 16 ounces of celery juice first thing in the morning. It's going to come and go. It's just a fad. And I started thinking, I wonder what there are in the way of studies. And I found all of these studies listed in Integrative-Based Medicine Journal. I was so surprised at what celery juice and celery can do. It reduces glucose, blood lipid, and blood pressure. I had one lady that I worked with that had high glucose, high cholesterol, high liver enzymes, and high blood pressure. She did one thing different for a month, and that was to start her morning with a big glass of plain celery juice. And in 1 month had brought those numbers all down. Humble little celery juice. One change. I'll never forget, I had a professor at Bastyr, and he said he'd worked with a guy that didn't want to be there. He came to him, his wife made him go, and he had tons of problem. And he didn't want to do any change at all, and he was really angry to be there. My professor, who is also a naturopath, said, let's try one change, one thing. Can you start drinking 1 more glass of water a day? A year later, not only was he drinking all the water he needed to, he had changed his diet, he was taking supplements. I can't remember if he was juicing or not. His whole life had changed, and all those medical problems had gone bye-bye. Start somewhere, right? We all have to start somewhere. Many people are overwhelmed. I cannot clean out my whole pantry and revamp my entire life. Okay, well, where can we start? What one thing this week can you change? A lot of people say to me, yeah, I could start drinking 1 glass of juice a day. That could be my one change. Of course, maybe that is the one change that's going to get you down the path to that health that you really long. Maybe it is celery juice. A lot of people, when they are desperate, they want to get well. What can I do right now? That's what people want to know. Give me tools I can use right now. I don't want to wait next week. Or a lot of times with doctor's appointments, you have to wait. I mean, it's hard to get in. You have to wait for tests and wait for them to tell you something. People are tired of waiting. They say, I want to start now. I want to do something right away. And changing your diet and juicing gives you powerful effects right away. I've had people within a few weeks tell me how much better they felt. I've had people with cancer say to me, I feel better now than I did before I knew I had cancer, even though I have cancer. But I'm doing all these good things and I feel better. Some people don't feel better right away because they're detoxing and they feel worse. One day you will feel better. You got to get those toxins out. So yeah, sometimes you get worse before you get better, but it is so worth it. Hang in there. What is so wonderful about juice? People ask me all the time, can I just eat those fruits and vegetables? Yes, please do. But juice too, because juice is broken down so well, it gets right into our system. It bypasses a lot of the work our bodies have to do for digestion. It's like a pre-digested food. It's getting right in, and a lot of people have impaired digestion. They've grown up on bad food, right? Processed stuff filled with chemicals. Many have either leaky gut syndrome or they have lots of intestinal problems. The juice bypasses that and gets right into the system. It's guesstimated it's at work within 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to get into your cells. I always have this slide of this happy cell, and I go, this is a cell that just had juice, and it's creating a happy cell. Happy cells are a happy life, right? That's why juice is so important. Years ago, I did an interview with Dr. Mercola. We did a 3-part series on juicing, and I asked him why he was so interested in juicing, and he said it was because he'd seen great results with his patients like nothing else. He first got interested in juicing because he had patients coming to him that were older and looked fabulous, really healthy and really good. And he started asking them what they were doing because there were a certain group that looked different than the others, and they were all juicing. And it got him curious about juicing. He started down that path, and that's when he said to me, there's nothing like it. It's beyond the smoothie. Because people say, can't I just take those fruits and vegetables and not throw them all in the Vitamix? Yeah, sure you can. I love smoothies. However, do it all. I have found there is nothing like juicing, where that does mean the fiber is removed from one part and the juice from the other. So that's a juicer versus all in one thing, all mixed up. That's a smoothie. That's a blended drink. And I've just found it's all good. And I do a smoothie every morning too. I did that this morning. And instead of fruit, I use avocado and blend it all up. I do it all. That begins to bring healing, detoxification, rejuvenation, and it begins to replenish those deficiencies, and it's bringing in all those cancer-fighting nutrients. I like to start with a citrus and garlic juice thing that cleanses the liver, and that is a great way to get going in the morning, get that liver cleansed. Cleansing the liver takes me to beets and beet juice. Beet is known as a fabulous liver cleansing vegetable, so it's a great one to juice. It is definitely high in sugar as a vegetable goes, so I like to dilute it with greens, lots of greens. And I put in cucumber or zucchini, and those have a lot of juice in them, and that begins to dilute some of that sugar. Same goes for carrot, but I don't like to exclude any vegetables. They're all wonderful. They have their place, and we need to include them in our diet. But with the 2 high sugar vegetables, I always like to dilute them with greens so that I don't get such a sugar hit with that. Last night I call it my energy soup for my husband and I. Sometimes I make that before dinner, and it's just carrot, cumin, and avocado. So the avocado brings the sugar down. So I juice up the carrots, pour that in the Vitamix, add an avocado and some cumin, blend that up, and it is really a delicious cold soup. I love everything else I make because I combine a lot. And this is where I wanted to talk about combinations, because people ask me this a lot too. Is it better to just have juices by themselves, one thing at a time, or should we combine them? What is better? I do still adhere to celery juice by itself if you can tolerate that. Seems to work best in the morning. But the rest of them, I found a study on synergy and combining different vegetables and fruit and the synergistic effect of that. It's far more powerful. So when we can get lots of different combinations together, we get a lot of things working together. And I remember back to biochemistry, and I'm wondering, why did I have to take it? Because I hated chemistry. But I began to see how this mineral works with this vitamin, with this enzyme, with this phytonutrient. You need a full complement for certain reactions to take place. If you're missing something, your reaction isn't going to happen, right? That's when we need the full complement of all of our different nutrients working together. So that's why it's so powerful to get a lot of different vegetables together. And then the challenge is to make it taste good, which you definitely can with a good base. If you can't have fruit, I don't do well with fruit. Carrot lemon is a great base. Red apple for many people. I really like that as a good base. And to that, you can then start adding little bits of different greens, other vegetables. I always like to put ginger in. It's an anti-inflammatory and rich in zinc. It's just a wonderful spice to add to all of your juices. I put it in almost everything. And fresh turmeric, I'm fortunate we can get at our market fresh turmeric. So I put in today great big turmeric root. And there are over 6,000 studies and all of its amazing properties. It's great for the immune system, on and on we could go, but I love to add fresh turmeric.